Welcome to the Take Action podcast, where we empower communication partners to feel confident with AAC. I am Lauren Greenleaf, a certified speech-language pathologist with nearly a decade of experience in AAC. Join us weekly as we dive into all of the aspects of AAC and hear from communication partners just like you who are successfully integrating AAC into their daily lives. Whether you are an SLP, a parent, an educator, or any other communication partner, you are absolutely in the right place if you are ready to take actionable steps towards AAC success today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Take Action podcast. I am so excited to share my first interview with you. I am here with Stefanie, and she is the president and co-founder of Lilly's Voice. Stefanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
I am super excited for this chat because Lilly's Voice offers so much, and so few people actually know about it. So why don't you go ahead and get us started just a little bit about your journey and how you even got started in the world of AAC?
Sure thing. Well, it all started with my daughter, Lilly, who is currently 11. She is non-speaking. She's autistic. She has apraxia, and she's also my absolute favorite person in the whole world. We started testing her for different things when she was like 8 months old. She's always been non-speaking, and she was diagnosed autistic at 14 months old. And so we have been working on her journey and communication, especially, for like ever. And when she was around 2.5, I heard about something called an AAC device. Keep in mind, this was quite a long time ago. I had never seen one. There were no parents sharing about it on social media. There were no YouTube accounts. The AAC creators didn't even have any online training at the time. But I was determined to help her communicate. So I bought her a device. I set it up on my own. I did a horrible job, but that's okay because at least I was trying, even though I had no idea what I was doing. And I started teaching her how to use it, and it just became life-changing. AAC, without a doubt, is the greatest thing that I ever did for my daughter, was getting her an AAC device. So then I just became like a fierce, passionate advocate in the world of AAC. I, started fixing what I did wrong on hers, thank goodness. Started taking classes, started working with a bunch of SLPs and other experts. And then I started teaching classes, and I started reaching out to other parents to help them and tell them how they could do this, and started making YouTube videos and kind of, created an online following of parents that I could help because we can do this on our own. It's great if you have an expert, if you have help, but it is possible. So that's kind of like my intro into the world of AAC was homegrown. Me figuring it out and, changing my daughter's life by having access to it. So,
yeah, I love it. And I love your story so much. And we will totally have you back on another podcast to like dive even deeper into that. So you and I have talked previously and a little bit before about some of those mistakes that you made and kind of how you grew your skill set throughout. But what I want to focus on today is Lilly's Voice. So from Lilly, you guys came up with this amazing idea to create this Lilly's Voice nonprofit. So can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to start that journey, why you decided to start that journey, and what actually is Lilly's Voice?
Absolutely. So it's interesting. I can't take all the credit, but through helping other parents, I started realizing not everyone obviously can afford to just buy an iPad and an app. That's a very privileged aspect that I was able to do. A lot of people try to get it through insurance, through school, through a speech therapist, through whoever, and not everyone can. And about 3 years ago, I was trying to help a mom friend online raise money to get an AAC device for her daughter. I started selling t-shirts, and I was so excited that I raised the money for her. And one of the people I hit up to help me was my cousin who lives in Idaho. And I explained to her what I was doing, and she immediately sent me a bunch of money. But then she was like, hey, why isn't this free? Like, why wouldn't a kid have an AAC device? This is absurd. And I was like, I absolutely agree with you. And she said, we should do a nonprofit. Let's create this and let's figure out what to do. And she just suddenly became like impassioned with me in getting AAC into the hands of as many children as possible. So it all came about by someone joining me in
I love it.
In trying to help make this possible. So she and I started it together. She's the other co-founder. Her name is Amy. And we've been running the show kind of like a team of two ever since. She does the business side and a lot of our intros. I do all the consulting and all the online and all the videos and all the parent stuff. And we just work together amazingly. And we have been around for 3 years now, since May, which is unbelievable that we've been around for 3 years by now. But it's an awesome nonprofit. It is a 501c3. You know, anyone who wants to make donations to us, it is tax deductible. Hint, hint. But basically what we do is we have a place where people can apply if they have applied elsewhere. And it's for kids ages 2 to 18. So we want people to use the resources they have available, because we're just two cousins. You know, we don't have government backing. We don't have anything like that. We are just raising every single dollar on our own. We want people to try to go through their school, to try to go through insurance, to try to go through a local grant or anything that they can. But if they are being denied, or if they are being seriously delayed, like a lot of people will be like, yeah, sure, no problem, we'll give you a device. You're on a 1-year-long waiting list. Well, that's too long to wait. That's unacceptable. Every kid has a right to communicate right now, not a year from now, not when they're 10, you know, still when they're little, they should have access. So we basically say, if you've tried a few places and it didn't work out, apply with us at lillysvoice.org. That's 2 L's in Lilly. And then we have an entire process where we go through, meet with the parent, help them figure out what app will work for their child. Our hands are unfortunately tied on a couple apps that are now subscription based. But for the ones that we can buy, because we buy it for the family, meaning it is their app forever. It is their device forever. They can set up family sharing on Apple and keep putting that app on everything they own until the end of time, because we want them to always have access to this communication. And then we provide training and consulting and do our best remotely. We are nationwide. I wish I could fly around to every single parent and, you know, go in their living room and train them and do all the things, but I can't. There's a lot of work on their plate to learn and get it done. But that's basically how it is. It's like moms helping moms sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I love everything about it. And you guys both work full-time jobs in addition to doing that too.
Yes.
So the fact that you guys are able to keep it up and running and where it is now and how many devices you guys have really given. Do you have a more recent number?
I do. Yeah. As of, I think about a week ago, we passed 380 devices in 3 years, which equates to 1 AAC device about every 3 days. Which is
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting. And I'll be honest, we had no idea that this was going to happen. When we started the nonprofit, we were like, all right, if we can do 1 a month, maybe 2, we're going to be changing the world. We're going to be so great. We're going to be helping all these kids. And then the applications just started piling in, and it's all word of mouth, other than a few like podcasts or things, or it's basically, you know, someone tells someone. Someone goes to a clinic and their speech therapist, or a lot of ABA therapists are sharing about us. Like, whatever it is, someone tells someone and they apply with us, and we try to help every single person that we can. We don't turn anyone away. Sometimes we prioritize people a little higher, but we help everyone as long as they are valid, because the world is also a hideous place full of people who are trying to steal devices from children who need them, and that's not okay. But other than that, we help everyone.
Yep. It's just crazy in and of itself. There's so many crazy things in there, because you're right. The access to devices now is so challenging for a huge population of the country. And insurance is typically a pretty long wait time. Some insurances are great and will cover it, and the wait time isn't terrible. And then other insurances, I mean, I recently heard of somebody that's been in appeals for over 18 months now. And it's like, we're not helping them anymore. We just need to get devices in their hands so they can start communicating and have access to that. So I think it's really important that you guys do have them explore those avenues first, especially to just the amount of applications that would come in from the start.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key. So they explore other options, then they apply. Simple application. What type of stuff is on your application?
It's a very simple application, and honestly, it has evolved, right? So we've had a lot of lessons learned since the beginning. It was easier in the beginning, but we realized we were making mistakes. So basically, they let us know about them, about the child, and what their challenges are. We do have them upload a little bit of paperwork because, again, the world we live in, we have to validate that we're speaking to real people with real needs. We ask them where else they've tried, and there's a lot of, it just walks you through the application. We let them know ahead of time in the application and every step of the way that this is going to be a parent-led configuration. This device does not come installed from us, and we will help people, but we're letting them know this is the kind of effort you're looking into, and this is the kind of requirement, and we're going to require you get Apple Care and how much that costs, and can you afford that? And basically everything on this application to set them up for success. Then they submit it. They are prompted to schedule a call with us as soon as they hit submit. And then we do their intro call, which is usually done by Amy, in which she reviews the application with them. And it's usually within a couple weeks of submitting the application. So it's not that long of a wait, but we do, like you said, we both work full time. We are trying our best here. She usually has a nice long conversation, sometimes very emotional, because we're the first people that are listening to them. We have a lot of parents who've met with a lot of gatekeeping, children who have some speech, but it's not necessarily helping them. Just because someone can repeat a word doesn't mean that they can communicate. And so they're being told not to do this, or they're being told, well, now your child's going to stop speaking vocally. Lots of parents who insurance said, sure, we'll do it. But then the copay is like $700 to $1,000. That's more than just buying a device yourself, or maybe some children, like you said, there's parts of this country that they're still on a wait list for an evaluation for autism. And they might even have a 3, 4, 5-year-old who still doesn't have a diagnosis or assistance. And meanwhile, we have this non-speaking or limitedly speaking child who needs help now, and these desperate parents trying to do everything they can on their own, and everyone else is rejecting them because they don't have official diagnosis paperwork. Whereas we're like, give us something to prove you're trying. Like, please just prove that you're trying. Tell us that you really do have a child in need, and we will help you. Like, I get it. You don't have a speech therapist, no problem. So that's what we're trying to do.
And I think that's a really important highlight to your program in and of itself too, is that you don't have to have a speech therapist there. You don't have to have a professional, but you guys don't just give them a device that they have at it, have fun. Yes, like you mentioned at the beginning, like there is going to be some part of them that really does have to continue. Like you guys aren't there supporting them full time for the next 6 years. But can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like once they get the device in the hand, you're not necessarily done. Right.
Well, and actually before we even purchase the device, so like after the process and after the intro call, they end up on our list. And then when it comes their turn, so when we have the funding, they're at the top of the list. I reach out and say, okay, have you gone through all the things we discussed? Because we send them a bunch of information about that intro call to start researching apps. We do not pick an app for a child. We send them links. We send them research. We let them know, what are some good ones? We're here to answer questions. We show them accounts online. Look at these accounts. See which one seems like what your child might relate to. Like, it doesn't matter what I like, and it doesn't matter what you like. What do you think your kid's going to do well with? I can't send you a test device, but I can at least let you try to make a good choice.
Absolutely. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. And
because we're not picking it.
No.
It's a family-led process.
It is. And honestly, and since the family's going to be so involved, they really do have to kind of understand why they're picking it. There are some apps that will work for like 90% of children, and there are some that aren't going to work for all children, or that, there's different styles. And so we try to give them what we can. Some are amazing with the research, some not so much. We are trying our best. We understand these are busy parents. And then when they get to the top, we tell them to choose the app. And then they actually have to do some training and complete a quiz. So before we will purchase a single thing, We send them a link. They have to complete like 5 training modules. It's like some videos about modeling, about why different things matter, about just like all sorts of things about AAC. And then there's also a best practices for AAC, kind of trying to explain some basics. And then they have to take a quiz that refers back to all that material, because if they keep hearing it over and over and over again, it's going to be familiar. They are going to learn it. So once they complete the quiz, we start the order. Everything is shipped to them. We don't ever, touch anything. And then when it arrives, before we buy the app, they have to sign in, prove they got Apple Care. And then they set up a call with me, or I reach out to them to set up a call. And then we do like another consulting call where I talk to them about the training materials we're going to provide them. We talk about best practices for AAC. If they have a certain type of device, I might give them a few notes like, okay, don't skip over this. This part's really important. Or don't skip over this. This part's really important. And then we show them how on this training page we give them, there's a tutorials and important info section where there are step-by-step YouTube videos to walk them through how to configure the device. We tell them, watch a minimum of this number of videos on day 1. And after that, watch these videos. And then we also show them there's information on modeling. There's information on what to request for an IEP for school. We talk about how you have to add it to the IEP and some different pitfalls with that. We talk about a proper perspective to make sure that they are being respectful of their AAC user. And we even talk about family sharing to encourage them to back up the app and have other copies of it available. And then they're basically allowed to ask me any questions they want at that point. Some have a lot of questions. Some are like an information overload. They're like, I'll come back to you. And then after that call and after they're like, okay, I'm ready, then we purchase the app. We send them notes on how to download it, and then they start configuring on their time. And then we check back in a few weeks, but they have my cell phone number and can text me anytime. And some people do. They forget that I'm at a different time zone. So sometimes I'm getting texts at like 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. And then some they get excited, they go off on their own, and we don't really hear from them much. And I get that too. Again, we're dealing with all sorts of different families with all sorts of different priorities. But we do check in on them, after, and we do ask for updates, and we do our best to help as much as we can. But also, it's a very parent-led process.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And 380 some devices is a lot of people to keep track of.
It is. There's like 600 parents out there, because I still help parents who are doing it on their own that we didn't buy it for. So I'm going to say there's probably at least 600 parents or more that literally have my cell phone and will text me anytime. I'm also tech support for some people. That cracks me up when they send me something. I'm like, I don't work for Apple, right? But okay, I'll tell you how to fix it. No problem. Got to do what we can.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, and I think that's just what I love so much about this organization in general. Like, one, you guys are getting communication to so many families and kids that genuinely need it because they have a communication need and they're trying to access the world, and barriers were put up that didn't allow them to get it. And you guys are breaking those barriers down. And that's just something so special. And I wish that the whole world could just get that almost instantly without any barriers that even need to be broken down. But that's a problem for another day. But I also think your perspective on it is very important. You are a parent of an AAC user. You are approaching it from that parent perspective. You're not a speech therapist that sat through a class or two or training or got experience clinically. Like, you're genuinely living that life right now and able to share all that information. And I think part of the challenge that speech therapists face often, not all, but some, is really connecting with the family in the sense of we really need to get you your support out, and how can you really integrate this into your daily life? And you have that foresight, that knowledge, that information. And I think that's really helpful, especially for a parent that's trying to do it on their own in general.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I do think it does help to talk to someone who did it. And what's funny is the parent page that we give them, the one that has all those links on it, it's literally called You Can Do This. And I always tell parents, like, you can do this. You're talking to someone who did this. I didn't have any help, but I'm giving you everything I would have killed for when I was on this journey. I promise you can do it. And I'd say it's interesting because a lot of families, they don't know what they don't know, right? Nobody does. No one knows what they don't know. And the same goes with speech therapists. And I wish every single speech therapist on the planet had training in AAC, an experience with every single app, an experience with children and how to use this. But unfortunately, as you know, in the field, that's not the case. And so sometimes when I'm telling parents, you can do this, I'm trying to help them. They have professionals in their other ear who's telling them, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you're not qualified to do this. And I'm really trying to show people, yes, you are, because you get 24/7 with your kids, so to speak. And even the greatest speech therapist in the world cannot teach a child to communicate in 3 sessions of 30 minutes a week. That's not how that works. Nope. You practice, you give theory. Hopefully you're teaching the parents what to do, but it's the parents that are doing it, whether you have a speech therapist or not. So I really try to show and empower and inspire, so to speak, because we play a huge part and we should.
Yeah. And that is the foundation of where I come from with so much of what I put out into the world is like, the goal is to empower everybody listening. Like, you can do this. Even if you're a parent, if you're a speech therapist, if you're an educator who doesn't know anything about AAC, like, you can do it. We don't need AP specialists, AAC specialists, whatever you want to call them, at the top gatekeeping the knowledge. You have to come to me to get it. Like, I've never thought that way. I want you to be able to figure it out. I want you to be able to come back to me and say, oh, you know what, that didn't work. And problem solve why it didn't work.
Right.
Because I can't, as a speech therapist, I can't be in your life. I can't be with your child every hour of the day. I don't know what home looks like, and other than what is shared with me. So I think that's what's so important about your process, is really that empowerment piece. And you're not just handing a device over and saying, good luck, wish you the best. We gave you the device, communicate away. And even in some clinical settings, that's what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have somebody on the podcast in a few weeks. It's like, it took me over 1.5 years to even know what to do with it, because no one told me what to do with it.
Yep.
So I love everything about Lily's voice. I have nothing but positive things to say. Every time you and I have chatted, it's been amazing, and you have such great insight. And what you guys are sharing with the world as a nonprofit is just wonderful.
Thank you. We're trying our best.
You're doing great. So I know you mentioned your website earlier. How can people really help this process? So we have the people who are listening are like, oh, we really need to tap into Lily's voice because I need a communication device. And we covered a lot of that. But for those of us listening that maybe don't need a device, or don't have a client that needs a device right now, or the parents that already have one, how can they help you guys? How can they help us get more devices out there?
I mean, one of the biggest things that we need, obviously, is funding. And we have been blessed and shocked with the support we have received to date. But obviously, we don't get we get some help from some of the AAC providers. And, big shout out to Saltillo, who we absolutely love. But we don't get a lot of discounts. Apple doesn't give us a discount. We are paying for everything that we need for these families. And so we need funding to do that. My cousin and I obviously work for free. We have no one working for us. We're doing all the work ourselves because we want everything we raise to fund these devices. So anyone who wants to do a fundraiser, who wants to share with friends who are looking to do a fundraiser, we are on Facebook and Instagram, where you can link in and do one of those cool birthday fundraisers. If you work for a company that will match donations, or even, help you make donations. We've had quite a few people do company fundraisers. We've had fire departments. One of our Arizona families did a fundraiser 2 years in a row through the fire department, where the husband did a walk and everyone came out, and it was so cool. We had a school recently that they did a dance-a-thon to raise money for us. We've had some amazing speech therapists selling like course materials and donating proceeds, sometimes all the proceeds to us through word of mouth. Also, when you, if you can't do a fundraiser or you're not comfortable, you can also support businesses like Peace, Love, Autism and Channing's Joy, because both are other generous moms who are selling merchandise to change the lives of families of kids with autism. Peace, Love, Autism is one of the largest donors of Channing's Joy. Channing's Joy is like a huge partner of us. They do a fundraiser with us every single year. They have a shirt on their website right now that if you buy, the proceeds go to us. Basically anything you could do to help. Anything, like $1 helps, $5 helps, spreading the word helps, put up a flyer, literally anything. We appreciate every single ounce of help and creativity. Some people get really creative, so we love it.
I love it. No, and I think those are really reasonable things to share. And even like you said, just following you on social media and sharing you guys. For those of you that can't donate, it's still a really big help just to get the word out and kind of get that ball rolling. And what cool things you guys got going on. So generally speaking, I mean, I know you won't have like a specific number. How much does it cost you to really get a device out? I know some apps cost a little bit different, so it's going to be slightly different, but about what are you running for a device?
Yeah, we quote an average of $700 because an iPad right now, you can get one for $329. Well, you can still get a Gen 9, which we do full-size iPads, because as cool as iPad minis are, they don't actually last as long and they don't work with the nice, robust grid as much as, you know, a large size one does. So an iPad's like $329. We do a case, tempered glass. We send the family a pack of tempered glass and let them know you're going to want to stock up on this stuff. And then the apps range. TD Snap used to be cheap. Now, unfortunately, we can't provide it at all. But, you know, the apps range from, you know, $200 to $400. And so that's why we're quoting an average of $700 per device. Some less, some more. And sometimes one thing that parents don't know is they can come to us for a portion. So some families have like a grandma says, I want to help you, and they buy them an iPad, but they can't buy the app or they don't know what to buy. They can submit an application that says, I have an iPad. I need an app and some help. We've had some people submit an application because they got everything, but then insurance wouldn't provide a key guard. So, you know, they have this big fancy device. They don't have a key guard for it. They don't want to wait 6 months. And I'm like, you know what? I see that as a barrier to communication. So apply with us and tell us what's going on. You know, we have some that already have an app and that their iPad, you know, got too old and was no longer working. And so they need assistance. Like we've had many scenarios. It does not hurt to apply. If you cannot afford it yourself, apply. Now, what's cool is if you can afford it yourself, you can still apply and say, I can afford this on my own. I just really want some help. And I'll do consulting with you. I'll help you figure out what to buy. I'll do the same call with you that I do with everyone else. You know, we'll treat you the same as a Lily's Voice recipient, but you're saving us the money by buying it yourself. And we'll tell you what to buy. So basically, you know, like I said, we don't turn anyone away. We want to help everyone in any aspect of their journey. But the confines of our nonprofit is 2 to 18 because you have to have a mission. And so that is what it is. And one other thing people could do to help me is if you know of anything that people can do over the age of 18, please share. Message me on Lily's Voice or a friend for Lilybug. Please tell me, because I do get a lot of people out there. Communication doesn't stop at 18. We wish we could help, but we can't. So I need to tell them where to go. So please tell me if you can help.
And I don't have anywhere off the top of my head, but if I come up with one, I'll let you know too.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's really great. And I actually didn't know that you could just come for bits and pieces. You don't even have to come for the whole shebang.
Right.
You don't have to come for like key guard, case, all that good stuff.
Yes. And I mean, obviously we're happy to help, and we budget for each family to try to do the whole thing. But if someone already has an app, like that's allowing us to help one additional person and only helping them halfway. Like we are here to help. Everyone has a right to communicate, period. We want to help.
Absolutely. And I have come into contact a lot recently with like devices that are no longer able to operate the app or the updates to the app. Really tends to be the updates, or it's really slow.
Yep.
So even just getting that iPad, and iPads are more expensive than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
And they're about to be more expensive.
Yeah. Yes. Oh. Yeah. Much different financial obligation than it was when they started the communication journey. So I love everything about it. Any kind of final tips or tricks or ideas that you want to kind of leave everybody with? Maybe just like focused on kind of starting your AAC journey, getting a device and kind of just going for it.
Yeah. I just want to tell parents, one, the best time to start is now. So many get caught up on age or prerequisites, or people had devices for like a year and they're like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. So now it's, I can't do it. That's not true. The best time to start is right now. Whether you haven't had success with modeling, whether you haven't had success with an app, there is always something that you can do. There is no point in waiting. There's something. I talk to parents all the time who struggled with modeling, or maybe their device was set up 6 years ago and they're still on like a tiny little grid. And I'm like, no problem. We can work with this. I call it a refresh. We can do this really cool process and we can help you try something new and get your kid going. There's always something you can do. You can change your attitude. You can change your energy. You can come up with new ideas. You can add new motivators, but you got to do it. You got to do it now. No one's perfect, but you don't get anywhere by not trying. So I would just encourage parents, try now, start now, dive in, figure out, take power. Don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Like, you can absolutely do it, because our children need this. They really, really do. And the only way that you could ever screw it up is to not do it at all.
Yeah. So powerful. I love it. How can people find, just so we can condense it into one 30-second clip, how can people find you and find your information?
All right. So they can find us on Instagram. We have 2 accounts, Lily's Voice, that's LILLYS Voice, and A Friend for Lilybug, 2 L's in the middle. Those are my 2 accounts I manage. You can also find us on Facebook under Lily's Voice, or online at lillysvoice.org.
Awesome. Well, Stefanie, this was wonderful. And I can only hope that somebody listening is going to reach out to you right now and get themselves a device and get rolling with everything. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a fantastic episode. I hope you guys enjoyed talking with Stefanie as much as I did. What her and her cousins have created is truly amazing, and it's transformed so many lives just by gaining access to communication, because there are so many barriers and cost should never be one of them. And their nonprofit really solves this problem for so many individuals. So if you are in need of an AAC device, or you know someone who is in need of an AAC device and they've tried those other avenues, please send them towards Lily's Voice. And if you are not one who needs an AAC device right now, but you are listening and you really want to help, head over to their website and go ahead and donate. I personally give a percentage of all of my course sales to Lily's Voice. So every time I do any type of launch, that sends money their way. And with this being the beginning of our podcast, I have this really exciting new opportunity, and I can't wait to share it. And I'm going to also donate the proceeds to Lily's Voice in full. So after each episode, we are going to have a handout, and they're going to be like a single page handout, but they're going to highlight the really important things that we talked about on that episode. So today's handout is going to give you a little summary of what Lily's Voice is, how does it run, and how you can support it and get in touch with them for more information. So that'll all be in like a single page handout for you. And then in the future weeks, as we have other interviewers on the show and more episodes from me, you're going to get a handout each time. So to do that, it's going to be $25, and that'll be about $1 a handout. For the rest of this year, you'll get full access to the entire year. So all of 2024, you will get those handouts for $25.
And all of those proceeds are going to go to Lilly's Voice for the next 4 weeks. So anybody who is listening to this and you are interested in kind of taking that action step even farther when you're done with these episodes and getting that handout, this is the perfect opportunity for you to not only get those handouts, but then really support Lily's Voice in the process. So again, I will put a link to that in the show notes. So if you are interested, head to the show notes, click on that link. It'll be $25. You'll get a handout for each episode after this. And for the next 4 weeks, all of the proceeds of that will go straight to Lily's Voice. And I would love nothing more than to be able to fund a couple of devices off of that. So with that, I will see you guys next week on the Take Action podcast.